Hey, good evening, everybody, from the StormTrack 5 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Dave Dirks, and Kid Alexander is going to be joining me here at the weather wall as well. And I will probably head back to the radar. We just want to let you know that we're going to be broadcasting and streaming on our Facebook page as well as our YouTube channel, and give you the latest on this line of storms, which is now just beginning to push into Southwest Virginia, but warnings already well in advance of the line.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we were kind of monitoring that line up to the north and the west. At the time of the last severe thunderstorm warnings and the couple tornado warnings earlier that we had in Smith County, well, that line that we're looking at now had already formed back towards Cincinnati, Ohio. And one thing that we've noticed with this is the forward trend of speed with this. This has really gained a lot of momentum. So right now, the storms up here to the north and east of our viewing area for Buchanan and Dixon counties is actually moving to the south and east at 60 miles per hour.
How fast did you say that recent movement was? At 50?
So now moving south and east at 60, and then 65 here for our southern counties.
Right, so a couple things we need to point out. The storms are just now right along the Kentucky-Virginia border, and not even into Virginia, but we already in advance of the line of storms have severe thunderstorm warnings issued for downstream, because as you mentioned, at 50 or 60 miles per hour, Kit, they're going to be moving quickly through the warned counties currently that are in yellow, but also into the Tri-Cities perhaps earlier than the forecast models were suggesting as well. So that's why we're kind of breaking in and giving a live stream on Facebook and YouTube to let you know the progression. There is one, in addition to all of the severe thunderstorm warnings that are in effect, we also have a tornado warning in effect for parts of Pike County, Kentucky as well. So let's go ahead and go through the various warnings and give folks a heads up on the warnings. Then we'll do some storm tracking with the storms that are currently beginning to push into Southwest Virginia from Southeast Kentucky. So until 7:15, Kit, we have the warnings in effect for areas of Dickinson and Buchanan counties.
Yeah, and so the main concern right now with this line, and like you mentioned, Dave, you know, that this line is still technically in Kentucky, but because of its forward speed, it's not going to take it long before it moves into Buchanan, Dickinson County, and the rest of us here. So anyway, back to my point, though, about, like, I guess what our main concern is going to be the potential for some wind gusts upwards of 60 miles per hour in spots here, certainly in this warning zone, if this holds this forward steam, which at the moment it looks like it is. Now, I will give you a little extra information. The Weather Service said due to the convective lines that we had earlier, they are anticipating eventually as this moves into Virginia, it will maybe weaken some. At least that's what we're thinking. However, because of its forward speed, like we already have noted, these counties right in here could be in the line for some 60-mile-per-hour gusts as well. And
so we also have the most recent addition to the severe thunderstorm warnings in Virginia that include areas of northern Lee, all of Wise, parts of southwestern Russell County, and also a good part of Scott County, as well as I don't know, you got the wrong county there. There we go. As well as parts of, looks like Hawkins County is in that severe thunderstorm warning as well until 7:15. So forecast has this line moving very fast if it's going to be all the way to the end of those severe thunderstorm warnings that you see flashing there by 7:15. I did get that right? Severe.
Yeah, I believe that.
It may or may not be through all of that area by 7:15.
Yeah, and of course, too, then we'll have to kind of keep an eye on it, you know, as we move closer to Tennessee as well. But one thing about it, it definitely varies. Earlier, the storms were coming through at about 20 to 25 miles per hour. So this is obviously racing down to the south and east. And look at how it's been holding its steam. I guess the thing with it is, even though we did lose some instability due to the earlier line, when something's moving this fast and racing, you know, my thought the whole entire time was, are we going to lose enough instability? Plus, the sun came back out, and of course, we created some more instability. So kind of adding in the fact that we already have a lot of moisture, dew points around 70 degrees currently right now. So it's just multiple things going, unfortunately, in its favor. So anyway, you do notice that still in Kentucky, but getting pretty close there to Wise County, Dickinson, and also into. But
we also have severe thunderstorm warnings for Harlan County, Leslie County, and parts of Letcher County as well. That I'm going to keep getting that until 7:45. So those are the current warnings. Now, we also want to bring to the attention that tornado warning, which is in effect for parts of Pike County, Kentucky, and we'll zoom in a little closer to that and show you that. This, we got that strong bowing structure on the line of storms now, stretching from near Hyden to Daisy to Whitesburg, pushing into near Pound and Clintwood in northern Wise, western Dickinson County. But then when you get kind of the bowing structure, and then where we can see the kind of the upper end of that bow of line of storms, that's where we may be getting a little bit of rotation that causing the concern for the rotation. I'll put on the velocity kit and you can see what we can find there as far as rotation with that storm in Pike County. Let me just kind of go back with it, see if it's...
I would certainly, yeah, there we go, a couple scans back. Most of the scans look to be pretty broad, if I were to be honest with you. Now, obviously, if you're in Pike County, treat it as a warning regardless, radar indicated, but still, nonetheless, a tornado warning. So your gate-to-gate shear here, looking at winds going towards the radar, which back up here would be towards Jackson, Kentucky, would be 26 miles per hour one way, and then the opposite way, about 22 miles per hour. So if you can mix all of that wind down to the surface, you'd be looking at maybe a 50, 60 mile per hour tornado thereabouts, if you could get it all down to the surface. However, like you mentioned in reflectivity, it would be pretty broad, but you can still kind of tell that it's still a rotating, mesocyclone part of the main line of storms here, just due to the way that it's kind of bowing out there, kind of like you mentioned.
This general area, let me just kind of show where we're seeing that rotation. Our folks watching right now probably can see that right through here. So around Millard, it looks like, wouldn't you say, somewhere there is end up maybe somewhere in that general circle that I drew around the possible rotation that we're kind of keeping an eye on as it comes through Pike County.
Yeah, and we'll, I'm sure, be glad to look at the Weather Service to see exactly what they're thinking too. But I would concur. I would completely agree. It looks to me like, based on velocities, from about Millard on down south here, that's kind of where you're looking at the most of the rotational spin with this storm, is back here towards this direction. So even though you may have some heavy rain out in advance of it, another thing to keep in mind with a lot of storms that happen in the southeast, including Kentucky and our area, a lot of times they're kind of rain wrapped. They can be really hard to spot. So sometimes folks may be looking for a tornado. You may see a wall cloud, you may see part of the storm, but you may not actually be able to visibly tell where the tornado could be occurring. But at the moment, it's still within that warning zone. I think back towards Millard, I believe that's about where most of the rotation was being depicted there as far as the coupling.
And so this would be in line to move into Buchanan County if the tornado warning is extended beyond Pike County. That warning for Pike County is in effect until 7:15, so for about another 20 minutes. They're impacting areas around Millard, but also heading toward Feds Creek, and of course the severe thunderstorm warnings are also in effect for, now the Weather Service out of Jackson that issued the warning for Pike County says that the storm is moving east at about 30 miles per hour. The ones further south are moving quite much quicker than that, about 60 miles per hour to the south. But if we do a little storm track of, kind of just do a little storm track of that storm that may have the, I have to broaden my scope a little bit or I'm not going to get in there. All right, let's try it again. So if we go east at about 35 miles per hour, we can push that off in this general area. So in the coming hour, it looks like that cell that has the possible rotation and why they issued the tornado warning would be pushing into areas around Feds Creek here in the next few minutes. And Kit, you can kind of go through some of those communities as we go through. It will be pushing into, it looks like, Buchanan County, that part of the storm cell by 7 o'clock, 7:15 or so.
Yeah, I think this is a good time. If you're in Buchanan County even now, even though you're not under a tornado warning, just have a heads up that you may be having a pretty bad storm heading your direction here within the next 30 minutes or so. So kind of just detailing some of the towns out expected to impact here. Feds Creek around 7:02. Big Rock around 7:10, Phelps 7:15, Grundy 7:20, Hurley, Virginia about 7:26. Looks like eventually getting into the Twin Valley around the high school there, 7:42, Whitewood 7:48, And on towards, I want to say it's Lager there, 752.
And so that doesn't mean that the tornado warning will be extended, but that's part of the storm. That's where we were tracking that into the future, according to the present speed indicated of east at 30 miles per hour. Now we got to maybe update the speed as we track some of these other ones that are moving on the more of the southwest flank of the line of storms, if you will. We can zoom, kind of pan. This here is kind of the line that I think has the concern for damaging straight line winds right here. You get that bowing structure, often indicates, you know, some strong winds ahead of a storm, and that right there is moving off to the southeast. You said at about 55 or 60 miles per hour, correct? I believe is what you said. Let me just see what the warning, I think the warning actually says it's 65 miles per hour. Let me do a quick.
Yeah, I believe the one in Wise, I want to say, was 65. All of these down to the south and west was 65. And I want to say Dixon and Buchanan are the ones that's only 60, but only 60.
So the warning statement does say these storms are moving to the southeast at about 65 miles per hour. So if we update, I kind of changed the movement of how fast they're moving here. Let me just see if I can get that up there and move that. Okay, so that's at 60 miles per hour. So I'm going to have to back up a little bit on our camera angle here, and we can do
And while you're doing that, I just wanted to make a little note here of something I'm kind of noticing back towards Cumberland. So obviously there's not a tornado warning in this zone, you know, when you're talking about Leslie County and back that way towards Harlan. However, something I am at least picking up on, I know that the Weather Service offices above Morristown and also Jackson will be keeping an eye on this little appendage right here that's kind of showing up, because sometimes with the main line, almost like a mesoscale convective system, a linear type system moving to the south and east, but sometimes ahead of that line or within it, you'll have like a little embedded tornado. So that's at least something we'll have to
I'll take a look at that wind speed here in just a moment, but I wanted to give a track on that, and then we'll look at the winds here with that little area that you were talking about.
Sounds fantastic. And some of these towns, like you just mentioned, so this is moving south and east at 65 miles per hour, impacting Hayside here just in the next couple of minutes. I mean, you can already see it there if you're in Hayside. Norton, Virginia, around 7:05, Coburn, 7:10, Castlewood, 7:19. So just a heads up, folks, if you're watching us from those communities, Lebanon, 7:23, Gate City, 7:28. Assuming it holds together, that, you know,
and keeps up with that speed. If it slows down, it would be later times as it moves into the Tri-Cities.
Absolutely.
Because that would be only about a half hour away, as it suggests here for Kingsport, about 35 minutes away, about 40 minutes for Bristol, and looks like about 53 minutes for Johnson City. So, but just beware, like you're pointed, you know, emphasizing correctly so, Kit, that they're moving so fast that even though they are now just crossing into Southwest Virginia at the forward speed that these have, they will be quickly approaching the Tri-Cities, and now is the time to just be aware and also be prepared for the possibility of some severe storms. As you mentioned, our forecast models, National Weather Service is thinking that the line of storms will weaken some as they cross into Southwest Virginia toward the Tri-Cities, but so far they are holding their own pretty good.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, but yeah, you're exactly right. So at the moment, yeah, holding its complete steam. And now, unfortunately, looking at this a little bit closer up, what we're noticing is it's now moving into those counties where we have the warnings issued for Dickinson back into Wise counties. Notice that we have the heavy rain, some of that wind. Now we're taking a look at what we term as our storm relative velocities, or basically just a relative wind speed within the storm. So you're looking at some of that here in the reds blowing away from the radar. And keep in mind here, at a surface level, you may be getting winds sometimes kind of mixing from different directions. You know how that goes. But we could still be looking at gusts easily about 60 miles per hour.
Plus the radar is hitting, the radar beam is hitting due to the curvature of the earth. Above the ground, this is Jackson's radar. So the farther away the radar is from the actual storm, it's, you know, it's above the ground, it's above the surface by more than it is when it's right next to the radar site.
Absolutely.
So, but you can see here that we can put the velocity on here. Some of these yellows and oranges are pretty impressive. Like here south of Pound, could be looking at some wind gusts, maybe perhaps 60, 65 miles per hour. At least that's what's being indicated at storm level, where the radar beam is intersecting the storm itself.
Yeah, something that I would, encourage our viewers to kind of think about, especially if you're in a mountain community here. And I know there's a lot of mountains up in here. There's those deep valleys too. But in some of these communities, you have some pretty tall hilltops. And so when you're thinking about radar beam going, at a half a degree, you may actually be seeing some very strong winds on some of these hilltops. Maybe some of this could very well be mixing down, like onto some of the hills, around 64 miles an hour.
And so, I mean, the severe thunderstorm warning is definitely warranted for this line as it's pushing into these counties I guess now Dickinson, and also beginning to push into Buchanan, also Wise, and yet to move into northern Lee County where we have that warning in effect, but getting close to these areas. And certainly there is, I think, easily could be some 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts with this area of storms. Let's put the radar reflectivity back on there. That's easy to understand as far as the intensity of the storms, and they are pushing rapidly to the southeast. At least that Boeing structure right through here, Kit, is where it's moving pretty fast to the southeast at about 60 miles per hour.
Yeah, almost similar to a derecho where you get those strong straight line winds. It's kind of what we're looking at with this. And really just, it's part of the main jet stream flow. Unfortunately, we're on the side receiving all of the disturbances that are riding along the jet stream. And so unfortunately, that brings this disturbance down to our area. So yeah, we still could be looking at wind gusts in excess of 60 miles per hour anywhere here in the yellow warning zones, Buchanan County, Dickinson, back at the Wise. Eventually, and it is moving fast, so eventually moving into areas like Scott County and a northern portion of Lee County, something to keep an eye on. All right, now though, I wouldn't be surprised even ahead of this, kind of where you put that arrow right there, we're likely seeing some gust fronts kind of ahead of this main line. I'm sure you're getting the cooler air, especially right here in advance of that storm system.
It looks like we just got...
it's like another warning.
So that new warning just filled in over here. And this is also for the storms that are yet just now pushing into Buchanan County. That includes areas of Tazewell and also Smith County. That warning in effect until 8:15. So you're saying, well, what's going on? Nothing right now in those counties that are flashing, but it's for the line of storms that is rapidly advancing to the east. So National Weather Service giving plenty of lead time in advance of these storms as they continue to push off to the east pretty quickly at those storms that are that have been issued for Tazewell and northern Smith County. That warning in effect until 8:15, and the movement of that storm is 40 miles per hour to the southeast. So the segments have various movement and motion, and so they may not arrive in a solid line, but it looks like we're seeing kind of a total solid line developing from Beckley, West Virginia to the Kentucky-Virginia border right now. And so I would say they're probably evening out as far as the forward speed of these storms.
I would tend to think so. My other thought with it is where we had those storms earlier that were kind of firing up, because we had so much instability. I mean, they could pretty much pick a spot where the cap values are pretty low and just like erupt, so to speak. Well, in this case, this is really being mainly based on the forward speed of this. In other words, like, hey, once this train gets going, it's going to be kind of hard to slow it down, and that's kind of what I feel like we're looking at. Well, there's some stronger little spots, perhaps, of some winds, too, I have to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I mean, this definitely has some strong winds with it. So this is Jackson's radars continuing to show here. It's getting far away from Jackson's radar as well, so this is pretty high up in the storm. But nonetheless, we're getting some, let's see if we get a better, we're getting another scan here. So that is the most recent wind velocity, and the leading edge of that storm, that line is where the stronger winds are going to be. Let's go ahead and take a look up here. It looks like that rotation, that shear with the Pike County, and make sure this is still Jackson's. Yes, it is. All right, is kind of losing a little bit of its rotation.
Yeah, very, very broad rotation here. I would agree with that. It looks like the past several scans, just kind of notice it, just kind of breaking it up, in my opinion. I mean, that's certainly good.
So go ahead. Go ahead.
I know that certain storms, I know that all the storms will go through, cycles, where you may start out stronger, could perhaps re-intensify, but at least at the moment.
I just want to show, there was at 642, where it was much more defined shear with that storm rotation, and then we'll just put it up toward, and you can see kind of how it continued to push southeastward, and it loses a lot of its rotation. May just allow that to turn into a severe thunderstorm warning as it heads into Buchanan County, which there is one already anyway.
Yeah, I definitely concur. And also just kind of looking at it, I mean, it's becoming broader too. You notice that the couplet, even though it was stronger, but also a little bit tighter up that direction. And then these last few scans, notice how broad this is now. Like, that's a fairly large area, which tells me that's a weakening cycle, if nothing else, to that storm, in my opinion. But you could still be looking at 60-mile-per-hour gusts. So the unfortunate part is, a lot of times, I know folks are looking for the tornado, but keep in mind, you could have some very strong straight-line winds that could go through, and it could make a person think it's a tornado, and it may actually end up being straight line, and it could be actually worse. People sometimes underscore the amount of winds that can come from a straight line event versus.
And it can be more wide. It can be more widespread too. Like, for example, that tornado would be in a small sector, and it could be very, damaging if it were a tornado.
Absolutely.
But look at the amount of real estate covered by just this line of storms that's moving from near Cumberland, well, really from Hyden and Moselle through Cumberland to just north of Big Stone Gap to Wise, and then up into Dickinson, Buchanan County. So, I mean, that whole line there could have some damaging gusts of wind. And so, like you said, absolutely, the scope of the wind damage could be larger in a severe thunderstorm warning than just localized with a tornado, but both are extremely serious. Of course, when you think of tornadoes, you think of more extreme winds than you would for a severe thunderstorm, but a lot of times you might get a weak tornado that could produce 70 or 80-mile-an-hour wind, and you can get that same wind gust front or wind with a line of storms that is much longer and much larger in scale.
Well, just with a severe thunderstorm warning. So I guess all that to say, we don't want to minimize the risk here that, that these storms could pose, unfortunately. And another thing to keep in mind, it may not impact your neighborhood as much as it might impact the neighborhood just, down the hill or just down the road a little piece. So just something to keep in mind here. And I know, especially in advance of this storm system, we got to be talking about some, I would think, some decent gust fronts, at least around this, especially pretty near the storm, especially as it's moving south and east. So anywhere from Buchanan County all the way down into southwestern parts of Wise County, you're likely getting the gust front of that main line of storms.
And then into also the north and east part, northern northeast parts of Harlan County. All of Leslie County is getting hammered pretty hard, and also the main part of the storm kind of starting to push south of Letcher County. But like you said, it's a long arcing structure and is likely producing some strong, and at points along that line probably has some gusts that could reach 60 miles per hour.
I would be curious to know too kind of what the lightning is looking like with this on a kind of a broad scale. Okay, there we go. So the whole entire thing looks fairly impressive. Now, as we zoom in, that's still 801 strikes the past 15 minutes or so, and even honing in a little bit more, still 700 and some as we get even closer to the storm. I mean, that's quite a bit of lightning, at least broadly speaking. That's
absolutely that is, and lightning can do damage as well. I mean, to electrical systems and sensitive electronic devices in your home, and of course you don't want to be necessarily obviously in the shower or anything like that during an electrical storm. That's kind of secondary to what a severe thunderstorm does, but in addition to the wind, we got some dangerous lightning as well. And we've seen some really intense rains with these storms this afternoon that came through the Tri-Cities. Severe thunderstorm warnings, I should say flash flood warnings, were necessary for parts of Hawkins, Sullivan, Washington County, Tennessee, and also Washington County and Russell County in Virginia. So just be mindful. Let's just see how, I mean, these are moving pretty quickly to the southeast, but they still have the potential to produce some high water, especially poor drainage, low-lying areas, and I think we're getting, there's all those lightning strikes. They weren't, I don't think, all showing up initially when I put that up there, but now you can see how dense the frequency is on the lightning strikes that are with these storms coming through areas of Harlan, also Leslie, Letcher County now pushing into, and has been pushing in for some time now into Wise County, and also Dickinson County, and that storm in Pike County also pushing into Buchanan County as well.
A lot of times, a couple thoughts come to my mind here. A lot of times when you have this much lightning, there's usually at least some hail. Think about it, because the hail falls down due to the gravity, but the updrafts in the storm carry it right back up. Well, guess what? It comes back down again due to gravity. So it keeps going up and down. It gets thicker and bigger, but that combination there that's creating those positive, negative charges going up and down is actually telling you likely that there is some hail.
Well,
in
let's
this
put
storm.
on that updraft, and you can see where some of the higher spikes are in the storms, where and that's kind of some funky output right there. I don't know what that's all about, but let's put on the hail, where at least there is a possibility up to maybe, what would you say, that's probably pea to penny size hail perhaps, and maybe a little bit larger in Leslie County, but we'll just kind of show. And again, it's not everywhere in the storm, but some of the heavier spikes in the updrafts within the storms can be producing maybe some pea to penny size hail right now in areas of Harlan and Letcher, Leslie County, maybe also in just along the Pike and Buchanan County line north of Breaks Interstate Park. There may be some small hail. It looks like perhaps at 7:15 they may allow that warning. Let me just see. Go ahead. Let me put the reflectivity on there, and I'll let you talk about some of this. I'll just see what we're getting, if anything, updated from the National Weather Service regarding that tornado warning.
Yeah, so while you're looking at that, one thing I have noted is that's fairly consistent. You know, looking at the hail tracker, that was fairly consistent with the wording from the Weather Service. They were thinking maybe up to 0.75, or, you know, it could be around a penny sized or so. Most of the hail we were looking at there looked to be mainly pea-sized. But however, that seems to be pretty consistent with the warning, as it does seem like the main concern, as you know, at least here from Buchanan down to Wise and northern Lee counties, is going to be the winds, the downpours.
They have they updated that severe thunderstorm warning now.
Oh, okay. Is that to a considerable level? So
it's saying up to 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts with that storm. Line of storms that continues to slam southeastward pretty fast. Now they have that storm moving southeast at 30 miles per hour. So maybe that 60 was a bit aggressive as far as the forward speed on that. But let me just see if we're getting. I'll let you go ahead and go ahead. Let me just look and see what their current thinking are on.
Yeah, like something you noted too, is definitely true. When you get a big storm system like this, individual pieces obviously I'm sure are varying in speed. Some of this may be going 60. The rest of this, some here in this zone might actually be going 35, or, you know, it will vary some. Anyway, generally you're looking at this line definitely racing as opposed to what the other one, you know, the earlier one was. And we do have those severe thunderstorm warnings, just kind of, you know, recapping some of those areas. We'll look at some of your Facebook questions here in just a little bit, but we'll keep an eye on this. So from Buchanan County, still severe thunderstorm warned. Now that warning extending into Russell County and down into Washington County. They're giving an early heads up here that this is still holding together pretty good. So the main concern to me, looking at this with a considerable tag on it, would be wind gusts in excess of 70 miles per hour. You know, thunderstorms usually come, as far as the thunderstorm warnings, baseline 60 miles per hour, considerable being the next level up. So this is a level 2 level thunderstorm, at least right in here is kind of what the Weather Service is thinking.
All right, so that the warning for the tornado warning for Pike County as that moves into Buchanan County has been replaced with a severe thunderstorm warning for Buchanan and Dickinson County in southern West Virginia. That was issued until 8 p.m. With, let's see here, that includes wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour, and also possibly a pea to penny size hail, probably max with that storm. So it's not necessarily large hail, but I think definitely our main concern are some strong straight line winds with this complex of storms coming through southwest Virginia currently.
Absolutely. Yeah, the wind's my main concern, certainly, and then looking at it, since it has a considerable tag, means there could be some spots that we'll see wind gusts in excess of 70 miles per hour. Heavy downpours, obviously, with this whole entire thing, a lot of frequent cloud-to-ground lightning, and it still has a pretty good fast, forward pace here, moving to the south and the east, varying a little bit between 30, 35, and even as much as maybe 60 miles per hour in spots. But just keep an eye on this. So I know right now it's mainly just for our Southwest Virginia counties, and like the Weather Service mentioned, we were expecting maybe some weakening that could still very well happen. But at the moment, here's the rainfall rates that we put on there. Davis put on.
And you can see the entire breadth of the line of storms has some pretty intense rain rates with it. And let's see here. I'm looking for.
I know earlier, yeah, so the pinks were kind of indicating rainfall rates in excess of maybe around 4 inches or even a little bit more per hour. I know of that. So let's see.
There, so these kind of purple shading areas along the line showing, good 3. The heavier, the purple and so forth, those areas of the line of storms, anywhere from roughly 2.5 to 4.5 inch rainfall rates. That'd be per hour. Has to rain an hour for it to accumulate that much, but certainly sitting over an area for a half hour could go, half that. You could get, 1.5 inches to, 3 inches to maybe 3 inches of rain in a short period of time with that line as it comes through.
Absolutely. Earlier with one of the slower moving storms, as one was just kind of sitting over the Sullivan County area, I know we got a report, somebody had sent a picture of the rain gauge there at their home in Colonial Heights. Well, the rain had already accumulated about 3 inches, it looked like, in the rain gauge. Now, that was obviously for a slower mover, but to Dave's point, with these even being faster movers, at this kind of rainfall rate, it doesn't take long, 30 minutes here? Yeah, there you go. There's that picture from earlier.
This was from the Colonial Heights area, and this was before another little round developed post that storm, so it probably is over 3 inches there in Colonial Heights. But you get that kind of rain in a short period of time, you're going to have some flooding. There is, in fact, a flash flood warning for that part of Sullivan County, eastern Hawkins County, until 8 p.m. With that area of rain that continues. Somebody can put on the estimated rainfall that has occurred. What do we got showing up there? I'm going to try to get the radar back on there and show. We do need to concentrate on. These are the estimates of rain that have occurred, and most of this in northeast Tennessee was with earlier convection, and you can see that area where that picture was coming from Colonial Heights of close to 3 inches, but it, since then it did rain a bit more, and we'll just kind of
and
then right here over Colonial Heights, 3.5 inches of rain estimated in that little area there of easternmost Hawkins County, and then through Sullivan County, near and south of Kingsport toward Colonial Heights, and into parts of Washington County. But the bullseye with that zone of heavy rain was into the Colonial Heights area, Sullivan Gardens area, and right to near the Hawkins County line south of the Allendale Mansion area there of Kingsport. But that picture proved it, and so does the estimates according to Doppler radar as well. Is there anything you want me to show right now, Kip?
I would kind of like to go back to mainly just a broader perspective of the whole line of storms. I'm just kind of curious. I was curious about the latest 2 or 3 scans, just kind of noticing if there was any weakening to the pattern at all, or if it's still maybe a little bit of
tiny
weakening.
bit.
Maybe the tiniest little bit there. Maybe Dixon County.
Yeah, it looks like maybe into slight weakening in areas of Dickinson County, but where that the cell that had the rotation of the tornado warning now is in no longer tornado warning, but is moving into, you can see the reflectivity there just to the east of Breaks Interstate Park, just to the west of Grundy. Definitely some intense rainfall. I don't see any concern at this point with rotation as it comes through that part of Buchanan County, but certainly there is some very heavy rainfall that is going to be accompanied by, I was going to show the future track, but I think that has been replaced by a much faster solution as far as the potential for the storms coming in the Tri-Cities. But I do think there may be some slight weakening, but at this point, now we do have, just as I say that the tornado warning was not extended into Grundy or the Buchanan County area. There has been a tornado warning. Let's go ahead and, Kid, I'll let you look at this. I'll go ahead and tell Holly that we're going to break into WCYB. We want to make sure, say that again. Okay, yeah, and so we're going to be ready. But anyway, so this tornado warning, what is it? It goes into effect until, let me put that up here.
Looks like until 7:45.
And the severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located near Grundy and moving
southeast at 50 miles per
50
hour.
miles per hour. So that cell has potential to be producing a tornado. Looks like we've got definitely a flare up here in the past few minutes too. So it's moving, let me move it east at 50 miles per hour. And what time was that expiring, Kit?
Yes, I'm on orange. Yeah, just a heads up, viewers. Yeah, we're going to be going on TV here in just a second. It's moving south and the east at 50 miles per hour.
Okay, so we're just going to drop our audio for a minute until we can welcome our viewers from WCYB. But again, a tornado warning for Buchanan County, this area between Grundy, Whitewood, and Garden. So while we're waiting, Kit, the velocity here is showing, all right, I think we're ready to welcome our viewers from WCYB.
This is a StormTrack 5 severe weather alert.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Want to bring some important weather news. Tornado warning has been issued for parts of Buchanan County in southwestern Virginia. That area is also included the entire county in a severe thunderstorm warning, but some recent rotation developing in areas just to the southeast of Grundy. The Doppler radar indicating rotation near just southeast of Grundy, located near Grundy, moving southeast at 50 miles per hour. So meteorologist Kit Alexander joining us right now, and we're tracking a very large line of storms that has possible damaging wind with it, and we'll bring folks up to date on that in just a moment. But let's concentrate on this tornado warning currently in effect for central and eastern parts of Buchanan County.
Yeah, so it looks like the worst of the rotation there that we had just pulled up. You can kind of tell right there around the Grundy, just south and east of Grundy, around that area, within that tornado warning zone. It's already a good time. Don't worry about what people think. If you have a safety place in mind, preferably a basement, but if not, get to the centralmost located area of your home, away from windows. Put as many layers as you can between you and the outside. You see the worst of that rotation there kind of showing up where the green basically meets the red.
So right in through here, just southeast of Grundy, near the Keene Mountain Correctional Center, very close to Oakwood, just near and east of Van Sant. It looks like kind of right in this zone here, I would say. Would you not agree with that? Would be probably potentially where that possible tornado would be currently?
I would think so. Certainly when we start getting a little bit tighter couplet like is showing up here, I think that you're exactly right there. Really close to the Keene Mountain Correctional Area. Around that general area is where I'll see the strongest of the rotation.
And so it's moving to the southeast at 50 miles per hour. So we'll back up and we'll put a track on this, and just, of course, folks in Buchanan County, especially within areas south and east of Grundy to Whitewood and along Highway 460, that entire corridor is certainly going to be in the danger part of this storm as it moves to the southeast at about 50 miles per hour.
Yeah, and so what Dave's doing there now is putting this into forward motion.
It again. Let's scrap that. I need some more space to get an hour out at that speed. All right, so we're going to go 50 miles per hour right through here. And so you can see at 50 miles per hour, you can see the distance that it's going to be covering.
Yeah, and just some towns and localities that it's going to be impacting here potentially over the next 30 minutes to an hour. It looks like Whitewood around 734, Richlands 742, just outside the viewing area. Claypool Hill 746, Maiden Springs 752, Chatham Hill 805, and back, if it holds together, maybe eventually to the Mountain Empire Airport around 817.
Let me just make a little bit, not just to be so narrow on my track, because the whole line is severe potentially, so we'll do that and move it forward in time. And so there's maybe a few more communities. Not necessarily everybody would be in line for that rotation, but that general movement of that segment of the storm that has the rotation, and then some wiggle room there on the north and south side of it to include areas, like you said, by 820 could be as far to the east and southeast as Atkins, Virginia, but it does include areas around Whitewood here in the next minute or two. In fact, already the bleeding edge already to Whitewood, Davenport also, Honeacre around 740, Richlands around 748, Southwest Virginia Community College around 752, Tazewell and Broadford close to 8 p.m., Chatham Hill 812, and Atkins, Virginia around 820. So it is important that you take shelter now with this storm continuing to bear down on those communities that are downstream. And when it's moving 45, 50 miles per hour, it can travel Kit a long ways in an hour, and that's why that track has it going all the way into and through Russell County and at least the northern part of Russell County, that part that we're warning for.
Yeah, and I just wanted to read,
County.
Yeah, even now just kind of reading some of the impacts expected from the Weather Service. So like I said, treat this as a tornado warning because it certainly is. Flying debris will be dangerous. Those caught without shelter, especially for those caught without shelter. Mobile homes will be damaged or destroyed, and damage to roofs, windows, and vehicles will occur. So just kind of keep that in mind. When you're talking about a tornado warning, we have to treat it as a dangerous level storm.
Absolutely, and so we do also want to focus in on not just that storm. That's the most urgent message that we have for you, but we have severe thunderstorm warnings for possible considerable damage tag on the warning itself, and that extends on this whole linear complex of storms stretching from near Harlan and just near into the north of Jonesville, pushing over High Knob now from Wise County into Scott County, and then into the northwest parts of Russell County. Looks like the worst of moving just to the eastern tip of Dickinson County. But I would say probably the most intense part of these storms currently are in Buchanan County, where we have that tornado warning in effect. That warning in effect until until 7:45. But we do also have severe thunderstorm warnings, and these are important too because they include, all right, so this one until 8:15, Kit, and we were talking about how this line, the entire line has possible gusts within it that could reach 70 miles per hour.
Yeah, and a lot of these communities, certainly there's a lot of hills and mountains up this direction, and like we made a point earlier, that radar beam goes about half a degree or so. So think about it as you get it further out into some of these mountain communities here. We could easily be looking at some 70 miles per hour wind gust here, especially in some of these like hilltops and so forth. And for the rest of us here ahead of it in Russell County, Scott County, you could be looking at gust fronts in advance of it where you could be seeing 60 mile per hour wind gusts. The National Weather Service has been giving us some leeway here, some heads up time by putting these warnings out really ahead of it, because compared to earlier, this is a fast moving storm system. But earlier it was like much slower in general.
I mean, the forecast models, late this afternoon, early evening, were suggesting maybe around 9 to 11 that it would start pushing into the Tri-Cities. That obviously has been moved up quite a bit. This is going to be getting into the Tri-Cities shortly. So just heads up, maybe somebody that you know who may be out, whatever event, or may not be paying attention to what's going on. And obviously we all aren't doing that all the time, but maybe just give them a heads up that the storms are coming into the Tri-Cities pretty quickly, and just be prepared to move indoors as this line of storms settles into the Tri-Cities, which is hammering now parts of Harlan and Leslie County in Kentucky, Lee County, especially the northern Lee County currently, northern Scott County, large part of Wise County, pushing into and through the northwest part of Russell County. The severe stuff beginning to exit Dickinson County, but still that intense cell in Buchanan County that has that possible tornado with it, and folks really need to make sure that you are in your safe place, all within that warning area. The warnings extend as far east as Washington County, Virginia, all of Russell County, and into northern Smith County and all of Tazewell, in addition to northern Lee and all of Scott County. So the next, obviously, area that would be up for the warning would then put it into maybe Hawkins County, at least eastern Hawkins, and Sullivan County would be the next counties that may have to be included in a warning if these don't drop off in intensity. And as fast as they're moving, you know, at 30 to 50, depending on what part of the segment you're tracking, they could be into the Tri-Cities area.
That's the thing. Even though we did lose some of that instability, you know, thankfully earlier when we had that first line come through, the downside is this whole line is moving so fast. And so think about it like a train. Once it gets going so quickly, it's hard to get, hard to get it slowed down. In this case, I think that these storms are really a good example of that. And unfortunately, they've made it quite a bit further than what some, might even think. So the concern with any of these, especially in the severe thunderstorm warning zone, would be 60-mile-per-hour winds. And of course, the strongest storm occurring right now in Buchanan County. If you're watching us from Northeast Tennessee and you're still not seeing anything, obviously thank you for your patience. But in Virginia, we certainly do have some strong storms. Take a look at all the rain there, quite a bit of traffic there.
And this area of Lee County is in a severe thunderstorm warning, and rain's coming down. Doesn't look like the wind's particularly strong at this one spot in a camera location near Lee Theater in Pennington Gap, but there still could be some strong wind gusts, maybe up to 60+ miles per hour in northern parts of Lee County right now as these storms continue to move off to the south and east. Maybe take a look at
and like you mentioned, Dave, yeah, that is still technically under the warning zone, even though we don't really see the strong winds necessarily right in here. Technically, that area, though, is under the severe thunderstorm warning, and not even seeing it other than the dark, some of the clouds off to the left.
Hasn't arrived in Lebanon, Virginia yet, but we've had the heavy rains come through Wise and Norton. Let's see what looks like the more intense part of the rain is coming through parts of Wise County right now. And that is our live camera shot from the Hotel Norton on our Ingalls Camera Network.
Yeah, and just to recap, you see the heavy rain here. This is under the thunderstorm warning. However, the tornado warning is still obviously occurring right now in southeastern parts of Buchanan County. We hopefully will get an update there.
Let me just get the radar showing. We got all right, so they've kind of trimmed the National Weather Service out of Charleston, West Virginia, which is, Dickinson and Buchanan counties are in their area of responsibility. So they haven't, the warning is still in effect, but it's kind of been trimmed away a little bit. But really the dangerous part of that tornado warning now is right along Highway 460, stretching from Whitewood to near Garden, including Riverside Drive. That is where this update came from. Let's just flash that for you. That tornado warning in effect until 7:45 for about another 10 minutes or so. At 7:33, a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado near and right over Jewel Ridge, and that storm is about 7 miles north of Richlands, moving southeast at about 50 miles per hour. So still some rotation kit with that storm, and this is still part of the same tornado warning. They just kind of trim back areas to the west that are no longer in it. But if you're in the Jewel Ridge area or into upstream areas in western parts of Tazewell County. That storm is going to be moving into your zone here shortly, and we can take a look at perhaps the
storm
velocity.
velocities. Yeah. So kind of highlighting this, and I'll let you speak about it as well. It looks to me like, okay, so obviously the strongest part of this couplet, which to me doesn't maybe quite look as strong as maybe a few scans ago, but still would be generally in this zone right here, would you say?
Yeah,
kind of in here, where the red meets the green, so to speak.
Let me just point that out where you're talking about. Right through here,
Yes.
we got, I'm going to maybe not try to butcher this, but Grimsleyville, and areas up toward Whitewood would still be in that tornado warning. Fork Ridge, also, I would say that Oakwood is clear. Keene Mountain Correctional Center is clear. Anywhere from Whitewood, though, to the east of Garden, perhaps, where that warning kind of extends back toward the southwest. But then also, for areas that might be moving, I would say, into the northwest part of Tazewell County. Let's go ahead and put the reflectivity back on here. I just got a new update. Let's go back. Got a new scan.
We have a new scan.
So maybe kind of right in this zone, perhaps. Not easily identifiable at this point, but certainly it's far from all the radars. That's the thing. I mean, so all these scans are coming pretty high off the ground, so it's not necessarily a low-level circulation that we're looking at here. And so it certainly is something that you got to take seriously and assume that there could be a tornado with it as it continues to move really right along Highway 460 between Van Dyke and Grimsley or Grimsleyville, and to the south of Whitewood in Buchanan County, but soon moving into Tazewell County here within the next minute or two.
So I would say, and correct me if I'm wrong, I would say from Fork Ridge to Van Dyke, Grimsleyville, if you're in any of these zones right in here, I would absolutely seek your tornado safe place. Like I said, as many layers, as many walls away from you and the outside as possible. Or if you have a basement, always ideal. Mobile homes, I know we've said it a lot, but mobile homes are never safe during a tornado warning.
That warning's still in effect for about another 7 minutes. We'll see if that is continued into Tazewell County or maybe even the uppermost north part of Russell County. Just areas north of Honaker would be areas of Russell County that would be in line for that segment of a storm, but it's just part of a large encompassing, all-encompassing line of storms that just is not focusing in on that one spot, that tornado warning. But let me pull back out a little bit here and show you that these storms are continuing to move to the southeast pretty quickly as well. These are the ones that are going to be taking aim on the Tri-Cities here shortly, that are coming through the Pennington Gap near Jonesville. It looks like the heaviest rain has kind of come, and at least the intense part of the storm has moved out of the Wise and Norton area, now impacting areas of Scott, Lee, into Russell County, and also into Buchanan County, and moving into eventually Tazewell County as well. Let's see this, let's kind of give a recap of those warnings that just came out for, this actually just came out.
Yeah, from the Weather Service. Yeah, considerable severe thunderstorm warning tag here on this storm system heading towards Kingsport. I know it's still to the north of Kingsport, but a considerable tag would mean there could be some gusts potentially with this line up to 70 miles per hour.
And so that severe thunderstorm warning that just has been issued, indicating at well, as of about a few minutes ago, the severe thunderstorm was located along a line extending from Cleveland, Virginia, which is just north of Wise. Right through here is where this new warning has been issued, and extending to just about 13 miles northeast of Gate City, and then kind of extending back west to just about 7 miles south of Big Stone Gap. So that takes you about to the Jonesville area. And moving southeast at 35 miles per hour. And then we just update the speed so we can get the right track on this.
So yeah, anywhere here that we're in the yellow warning boxes here put out by the Weather Service, yeah, we could be eventually, if the storm system continues to hold speed, which at the moment it's not showing necessarily signs of weakening down enough to where these counties at least wouldn't get some influence from this. It looks like it would be impacting areas around Kingsport, hence the reason why the Weather Service in advance of that line of showers and storms has actually issued that warning all the way down into the Kingsport community. Something I would at least like to add though is, and the Weather Service was talking about this a little earlier, we were expecting this eventually to start weakening some. I am seeing at least some signs of weakening.
A little bit breaking.
Scott County
Reflectivity is showing some breaks in the solid high, reflectivity colors there. But you're right. Let me put a StormTrack on here, going southeast to about 30 miles per hour. That's a little bit slower than the last warning that was issued for this line, but it's moving this direction right here. Yeah, did it again. I'm going to have to go back and do that again. I didn't give myself enough space. These are moving so fast. I need an hour's worth of space.
Yeah. And so what Dave's going to look at there, assuming that this continues to move to the south and the east, basically some towns, cities, that's going to be included here, including the Tri-Cities area, which right now, this whole line of showers and storms does look to give us at least some rain and some wind, if nothing else. So just kind of highlighting some of those communities. Bluff City at about 742.
Kid, I think I need to redo that track. I had the wrong speed on there.
Oh, yeah.
My bad.
No problem at all. So yeah, you still see it though, located right now in Scott County, back towards Lee County. If you're watching us from around Ewing, Pennington Gap, and over that direction, Jonesville. I mean, seeing some of that heavy rain and that storm activity moving down, like we mentioned, and then that tornado warning, obviously still at the moment, just a little tiny piece there in Buchanan County. Now for some of the communities for the Tri-Cities, that it would include Gate City around 752 or so, Weber City 755, Churchill 806, Kingsport at 809, Bristol around 814. So Bristol, Tennessee, maybe a smidge later. That would be mainly, I would think, around Bristol, Virginia, I would think. Tri-Cities Airport 821, Bluff City 826, and then Boones Creek, assuming it holds together, around 836 or so.
And so we're 2 minutes away also. Well, let's track the upper part of that warning as well. These are moving off to the southeast at about the same speed, about 30 miles per hour. So this concludes the part of Russell County and into Scott County.
And so, yeah, for like communities, like us, where we're in Bristol, Virginia, this is the part of the storm that we're now highlighting that will be moving to the south and east. Around Benham's, maybe around 756 or so. Greendale, 757, excuse me. Abingdon around 806. Again, Bristol, Virginia, around 814. Emory and Henry College, 818. Damascus, Virginia, 830, and Shady Valley, 834. And we could go on, but just know that technically Washington County, Virginia is, at least the northwestern part, is under that severe thunderstorm warning back into Russell and Buchanan, northern Smith County, and including Kingsport in the Tri-Cities area, one of our more populated cities, under that considerable tag too, a 70-mile-per-hour wind. Really, winds are possible with that storm.
So that, and then we'll find out here in about another minute. Let me just see if we're getting any indication about the tornado warning in Buchanan, if that's going to be allowed to expire, or if I don't see anything.
And we're still looking at the potential for gusts up to 60 or so around Gate City as Dave's looking at that. So obviously we still have that tornado warning just barely on the southeastern part of Buchanan County here. Like I said, treated as such. Make sure that you're in your tornado safe space. Hopefully we'll maybe see some signs here from the Weather Service. Maybe this is weakening down. Hopefully maybe a little bit. Anyway, at the moment, that tornado warning is still in effect for southeastern Buchanan County.
And that's for another minute, but we'll see let's see what the velocity within that storm looks like right now.
It looks pretty broad to me.
Yeah. I think they may. Of course, I was thinking they might not issue it again anyway, but I was wrong about that. So, I mean, the sophisticated tools that the National Weather Service has to work with are obviously something that they are very good at, and they will let us know here shortly whether or not it looks like the warning just dropped off.
The warning has dropped off, so that's good news.
Yeah. Maybe it's looking like it may have weakened. Daggone it. There we go. May have weakened a bit. It looks like the northern extent of that line that stretches from, west, Honaker, Big A Mountain, up toward Bluefield, and then up into West Virginia, is moving a little bit faster to the north, is moving more to the east, and then we got the southern line of this storm that is coming into the Tri-Cities, is moving more south. So we got kind of an easterly bend on those storms. Okay, so we do have the warning continuing for areas of, we got severe thunderstorm warnings in effect for areas from Lee County to Scott County and extending into also Hancock, Hawkins, and Sullivan, northern Washington County and Tennessee, as well as the severe thunderstorm warnings for areas of Russell County and moving into northern Washington County, Virginia, up through Tazewell County, and that warning extends into Smith County as well. So with the tornado warning expiring, we will let WCYB viewers go back to regular programming and just be mindful all areas of Southwest Virginia, now pushing into Northeast Tennessee shortly. That's some severe weather, maybe some strong damage and wind gusts will be possible with this line as it comes into the Tri-Cities here over the next hour or so, or during the next hour. It'll be obviously in the Tri-Cities before that hour expires. But we will continue our live coverage on WCYB Facebook page and on our WCYB YouTube channel as well. So stick around for that. But right now, we'll throw it back to Jeopardy.
All right, and we can continue for our Facebook viewers.
All right, so good news is the tornado warning has been allowed to expire. Still severe thunderstorm warning, the one that was in effect for Buchanan County, but still severe thunderstorm warnings ride across the entire extent of Southwest Virginia along that line and into Southeast Kentucky, but also the National Weather Service giving heads up in advance of the approach of that line. Already severe thunderstorm warnings in effect for Hancock, good portion of Hawkins County, and into the western half of Sullivan and northern Washington County, Tennessee as well.
Yeah, and you know, something we've been monitoring mainly with that line has been the winds. I mean, the winds have been strong. They still technically do have a considerable tag for the winds there for the Sullivan County.
We may be seeing a slight weakening. I hesitate to let anybody let their guard down, but maybe a little bit of weakening in the Lee and Scott County storms that are approaching Hawkins, Hancock, and Sullivan County. But there is likely still some damaging wind gusts potentially with it. In fact, the text of the Weather Service severe thunderstorm warning says considerable damage possible with wind gusts up to 70 miles per hour as these storms continue to race southeastward at about
let's see, are we still holding
35 miles per hour. So that it's now really on the back doorstep of Hawkins County and also Sullivan County and Hancock County, also racing through areas of Harlan County, Kentucky, and then also through Russell, now pushing into northwest Washington County, Virginia, into the upper part of Russell and into Tazewell County as well.
Yeah, so kind of looking at this, to your point, Dave, I am noticing at least it looks like some weakening, which, you know, is something, to be honest, that's something that the Weather Service highlighted earlier. And in fact, we were thinking maybe even around the Virginia-Kentucky line, especially once it got into Virginia, we would see some weakening. Although this has made it considerably, in my opinion, maybe a little further than what I even expected. But yeah, still with this, so like you mentioned, this could still have some considerable wind gusts.
I mean, I think the thing that kept the warnings going and the severity of the storms going is this forward speed that they had and the momentum that they are carrying. Because what was it? Was it around 5 o'clock this evening, right before we started the 5 o'clock newscast? We had tornado warnings from this cluster of storms in northern Kentucky near the Cincinnati area and northern Kentucky. So less than 3 hours, these storms are now penetrating, well, have come through and moving through southwest Virginia and are set to move into northeast Tennessee. So I think that's one reason why they were slower to decrease in intensity, because they were moving so fast.
So fast, yeah. Like we used the expression earlier about the train, but once the train, gets going, you got several boxcars behind it. Let's just assume here that this is like that. Well, it's hard to get it slowing, down or even to weaken something like this, because it was a big line. Several tornado warnings back towards Kentucky. Before that, it was in Ohio, Indiana, and it made a lot of progress down to the south and east, even down into our viewing area.
All right, so I do like what I'm seeing somewhat here on the reflectivity. It looks like it may be showing some signs of weakening a bit, but we'll go ahead and maybe do a quick scan and show. Hold on a second. I'm going to pull back a little bit. The path. I mean, these are in Gate City right now, Weber City, just right near Kingsport as well, heading into Tennessee. So we just tracked this. We do have a new warning that just came in that includes Sullivan, eastern half of Sullivan County into northern Carter and Johnson County. We'll track that, get the information on that right after I just do a quick track on this area of storms moving southeast at about 30-35 miles per hour. So estimate the times here approximately would be around 7:56 for Bloomingdale, 7:58 Kingsport. We're talking just, a handful of minutes from that. I'll move this track out of your box out of your way there, Kit. You can come back in, sorry.
No, totally all good. Yeah, so some of the towns and cities that this will be, impacting here over the next few minutes or so, we have it listed. But just so you can kind of listen in, Kingsport around 7:58, that's really not far away. I mean, I'm sure even though it's getting late in the day, you can still see those clouds off in the distance, some lighting, I'm sure. Sneedville around 8:08. Tri-Cities Airport around 8:11. Bluff City 8:17. These are roundabout estimates, by the way. Don't take them 100% literally. It could be a couple minutes off or a few minutes off. Johnson City 8:28. Jonesboro 8:34. And assuming it keeps going like this, Telford maybe by around 8:40 or so.
And so to give, we'll clear that. And then we just had a couple more counties that kind of filled in that weren't under warning previously, and that is for those counties now flashing. Washington County Northern had already been under a warning in Virginia. Now that does include areas near and south of Interstate 81. So from Bristol to Abingdon, Damascus, South Holston Lake, Hickory Tree, Shady Valley, Mountain City, Laurel, Bloomery. That part of that area is now under a severe thunderstorm warning until 8:30 this evening. At 7, let's see here. Let me make sure I got that right. Oh, I got the wrong one flashing. Let me just get back to this. Boom, there we go. So at about 7:50, severe thunderstorms were located on a line extending from 6 miles northwest of Abingdon to near Bristol, Virginia, to about 8 miles northwest of Walnut Hill, moving southeast at 35 miles per hour. So we'll do a track with this area of storms as well. This did not have the considerable damage tag, Kit.
And that certainly is good news because, yeah, the Weather Service will actually issue those warnings and three different criteria when you're talking about severe thunderstorm warnings, from really level 1 baseline 60 mile per hour winds up to 70 mile per hour would be considerable, which is what we've had earlier there for Sullivan County. Still technically in effect, but thankfully this doesn't have it. But yeah, and I am seeing a good trend here, especially towards Washington County. Notice how that is kind of weakening somewhat. Hey, you know what? We'll take it. That's certainly good news. And still kind of holding some strength there. You might want to keep an eye, folks, if you're living in the eastern part of Russell County, eventually into Smith County, that's still holding a little bit more strength back towards Richlands right now. It is poised to move to the south and east here really over the next several minutes. We'll put a timer on that and give you a little better perspective.
So just that segment that we just issued the warning for.
All right, and so just for that warning segment there, the newest warning would be Greendale, of course, really right about now. Abingdon 8:04, Bristol, Virginia around 8:07, Glade Spring 8:14. Looks like Chilhowie, Virginia around 8:18, Damascus 8:25, Mountain City 8:34. And eventually, if it holds together, White Top, Virginia, moving out of the area by then by about 8:41 and already moving into White Top.
All right, should we have anybody that has any questions about anything?
Oh, yeah, actually, we do have a few questions, and I appreciate everybody's comments. So thank you for all of our Facebook and YouTube viewers. You guys make this happen, and we try to protect as many people as possible. So Tommy Testerman just a little bit ago said winds were blowing hard in Honaker, but I think it's now lightening up that direction. Samantha Million says it's lightened up in Big Stone Gap. I think it's past here, which obviously, thankfully, the worst has passed through there. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. I'll let Dave touch on that. Just a couple more.
So just to be, put that on hold, but I do want to continue. But there, we had just that storm report, I guess we'd call it, from Honaker area, and it said that the winds were pretty windy, but you can see Honaker, Rosedale there on the northeast part, the upper end of Russell County, up into Tazewell County, especially around Richlands along Highway 19. That definitely is still under the gun. But areas like Buchanan, Dickinson, and Wise counties that were definitely impacted pretty heavily, that is now into just kind of a general shower activity currently. But we're certainly seeing, okay, go ahead. Is there any more that you wanted to bring up about any viewers? Or?
Oh, yeah, just briefly, one more thing, too. A little bit of ADHD kind of kicking in. But anyway, we are still keeping an eye on a couple of these storms. So now, even right now, okay, I think we're pretty good there. A couple scans were starting to show a little bit more of a bowing type feature. At the moment, though, that still looks to be pretty much linear there around Jonesville. You could still be looking at gusts here anywhere in this zone of up to 60 miles per hour in this
right through this area right here.
Absolutely. Yeah, so heads up. If you're under that thunderstorm warning from Washington back to Sullivan and Scott and into Lee County, there could be several locations here.
So we can kind of zoom and just show some of the areas that are under the gun currently, and that would include right along the Tennessee and Virginia state line near Kingsport, impacting pretty intensely now Gate City and Hilton's up toward Nicholsville and Mendota toward Greendale in Washington County, Virginia, but that's Scott County, pushing into Hawkins County now, soon to impact 11W. Of course, we've got Allendale, Holston Army Ammunition Plant, Lynn Garden, all this area that is going to be looking at some gusty winds for sure and some intense rainfall. We'll go back to the west. The storms are warned all along this line, but through Scott County, a bit of a break in the more intense activity in western parts of Scott County between Klitschport and Duffield, and then kind of picking up in intensity through a good part of Lee County. So we wonder if we're getting any comments from Lee County, how things are going there from near Rose Hill, along Highway 58 into the Jonesville, Pennington Gap, Dryden area, Blackwater, all under the gun with a heavy storm currently. As these storms continue to push off to the southeast at about 30 miles per hour.
So yeah, to Dave's point, if anybody's watching us there from Lee County, just feel free to put it in the chat on Facebook or YouTube too. I'll try to look at that in a minute. Just a couple more little quick things here. Ashley Thornton in Bristol, Virginia says high winds and starting to get dark there. And also Logan in Meadowview says it's starting to look bad that direction. Also Heather Pless in Meadowview is also saying it's starting to look pretty dark up that direction too.
And so there's Meadowview, Glade Spring, Interstate 81, Lee Highway corridor from Glade Spring to Abingdon. Those storms and showers still just northwest of Meadowview, Glade, and pushing now into the Abingdon area. Obviously, Greendale impacted, Brumley Gap also. That storm activity is into the Bristol, Virginia area of Washington County, Benhams. But like we've been kind of, at least somewhat encouraged to see a bit of the storm activity breaking up a bit in Washington County, Virginia, but still going full force, full headstrong here through the Kingsport area now, Scott and Sullivan and Hawkins County.
Yeah, which is certainly good news for us up in some of these communities. But yeah, like you said, Dave, to your point, it looks like it's still holding pretty strong.
Let me put the lightning on there, just see what that's showing.
Yeah, and lightning can also be kind of an indicator, too, of the strength of some of these storms. I know we had a lot of lightning strikes earlier, and zoomed into this area right here that we're looking at roughly 148 strikes, thereabouts over the past 15 minutes.
It's not picking up and displaying them. I'm trying to get that to happen.
Technology's trying to resist. It's put one strike for 156. But anyway, just you folks that are watching us from those counties, you know that there's.
Well, it says 140, but 140 aren't showing up right now. But there's still frequent lightning with this area moving through. Maybe if I try it right now. Well, it's not. They're not all showing up on there. There's more lightning than that currently. I mean, it's showing the number 168 strikes in that area from Lee County through Scott County, moving into Hawkins and northwest Sullivan County during the past 15 minutes. So still some pretty intense lightning there. Maybe less so as we go into the Washington County area. Less lightning in that storm heading into Bristol, then picking up in intensity around Rosedale and Richlands in Russell and Tazewell County. It kind of looks like that's where the two more intense areas of the cells are now, or the line is in northeastern Russell, off to the east of Lebanon, and then into, that would include areas around Hohenacre, for example, and then Southwest Virginia Community College near the county line up toward Richlands. And then we have the storms breaking up somewhat in Washington County, Virginia. Still some heavy showers and maybe some lightning, but then it kind of picks up again in the Kingsport area along the Tennessee-Virginia state line, right where Hawkins, Sullivan, and Scott County come together. It seems to be the heaviest area right now of concern.
Yeah, and kind of looking at that, I mean, that obviously looks pretty consistent with where we've had that considerable tag too, where we've seen some of the stronger winds. Then notice on the reflectivity, something I am noticing, the brighter colors indicating, I'm sure, heavier areas of rain. I don't know if maybe there could be some hail in that or not. A lot of times you get those brighter colors kind of showing up. Could be indicative maybe of some small hail. I know they were giving the potential, I think it was up to 0.75 or,
Looks like the higher hail potential, maybe some very small hail around Gate City, but maybe into Lee County might be the better chance of some small hail, maybe penny, up to maybe penny size there around Rose Hill, perhaps.
Yeah, that looks about like what I would expect too.
Not really showing too much here on our hail tracker. So I would say the hail's less than severe. In order for to be classified as a severe storm because of hail, it needs to be at least quarter size. So I would say we're probably under that guideline, don't you think, that threshold in these storms this evening?
Yeah, I completely agree. It's definitely more based, as you folks know, it's mainly based on the winds at this point. The winds have been, the main concern, other than earlier when we had that one tornado warning there just a bit ago in Buchanan County. So yeah, Dave's looking at some of the winds now. With that, most of it is linear. You see most of it just in one color too, pretty much uniform. But still could be looking at some gusts here up to 60, maybe 70. I know they still have the considerable tag there. However, when we highlight it, it seems like a little more consistent with like a strong thunderstorm when you say 50, 55 miles per hour in spots, maybe 40 something.
That can do damage. That can knock some tree limbs down and knock some tree limbs onto power lines and so forth. So yeah, still definitely some severe wind potential with that. Maybe not as intense as they were an hour ago, but certainly that storm, especially in the Kingsport area, right along the state line, is pretty intense yet, and it's bearing down on Kingsport currently. I might go ahead and look for put the cameras on there. May not be quite. Let me just see here. See what we've got in downtown. Maybe just not quite there yet.
We still have just a little bit of daylight left. Maybe we'll be able to kind of pick up on how dark the skies are. Well, it looks quite rainy. That's for darn certain.
I think it'll come down a little bit harder shortly. But you can see it looks like some lightning flashes off in the distance that I just saw.
Yeah, you can really tell, especially back there in some of those little valley locations. It's pouring rain that way. Not quite as prevalent at the moment, but it'll get there, I'm sure. But not quite as prevalent at Kingsport City Hall as it is off in the distance. And I'm sure, almost like you would see in person, I know I'm looking at the camera here, but I'm thinking that some of that would be some rain sheets well off into the distance there of Kingsport, not too far away from the hospital and back that direction.
And moving probably toward downtown area.
There's the lightning. Kingsport's still technically under that severe thunderstorm warning, by the way, at the moment. Still could be looking at some higher gusts and spots with that. So keep that in mind, and especially keep in mind if you have to be driving. I don't, recommend it, but keep that in mind for sure.
Okay, let's go back to the radar here and take a look. There's so we do definitely have a pretty intense line of storms coming through the Kingsport area, Gate City, stretching back toward Jonesville, and then it curves back up through Abingdon, Bristol, a little bit of a break in the intensity of the storms between Bristol and Abingdon, but then it picks up again in pretty intense weather now, moving into the Marion area of Smith County from Tazewell County and northeast Russell County. So we get a little tighter here. You can see this impacting areas near Saltville, getting close to Chilhowie along Interstate 81, getting close to Marion, already impacting Chatham Hill, and then we'll be continuing to move southward through the Interstate 81 area of Smith County. In fact, all of Interstate 81 is certainly being impacted with that. Looks like lightning strikes not as frequent as they were, but we still have in the Kingsport area, Gate City area, some pretty recent cloud-to-ground lightning strikes, and that picks up into areas of western Scott, northern Hawkins, and then through Lee County, and also into Harlan County as well.
Also appreciate when you guys send some photos and videos in, and getting some pretty cool video that we'll try to get to there maybe in a minute of the storms moving into Smith County. So absolutely, there's some folks just saying like you can really see the storms actually as they're coming in, like almost roll cloud-like appearance as these are coming in. So I'll try to get to a couple of these. Maybe we can might be able to run them there. Absolutely.
So you're going to go try to get that on? You can go ahead and talk
and real quick.
If you have any. Holly, are you still there? I'd say we can probably, when he gets that loaded, I could put it in Max 1. Can you go to Max 2? Is that difficult? We don't have to do it right now, but when he gets that video, or even I can put, all right, he's trying to get that into Max 1 or Max 2. And if not, I can put it in Max 1 too. But we might, if he can get some more videos or pictures, we could maybe go back and forth a little bit on what we're getting from our viewers. But here's that storm that he's gotten some viewer video from on his cell phone, and that is approaching areas near Chilhowie and Marion and Atkins. I'm trying to see here. The recent lightning strikes seem to be coming down a little bit from, let me just see if we can't make those a little bit brighter.
So we'll pull up a couple of your comments here too while I'm kind of working on that.
The lightning right now, recent lightning, has been kind of on the northern side of the line of storms that's coming from Russell and Tazewell County into Smith County, but the heavier precip and those dangerous looking clouds, those roll clouds that Kit was talking about. Is that what you think that it was a viewer roll cloud?
Yeah, it really looks like a roll cloud, and it was actually taken from Atkins, Virginia, by buddy Brian Burkett up there that works at the Smith County Airport.
Okay, so yeah, here, I think we do have that on Max 2.
Let's see. That one actually was a little bit earlier. Hold on, I will get the updated one on there in just a second. This is actually a different one. Oh, there's a good storm photo there on Max 2. But yeah, I'll have this next one up here in just a minute.
Okay. All right. Sometimes it could be a shelf cloud as well. It's hard to tell really from, that isn't the one you're even talking about, is it?
No, no, although this one's a good one, but no, this is not the...
okay, so scratch that anyway. We're back to the reflectivity. We'll try to get that loaded up here shortly.
Yeah. By the way, thank you for all your comments there too, and then I'll let Dave take it back over here. Tommy Testerman says, awesome job, guys. You're very welcome. Sherry, let's see who else we have here. How is it looking wind-wise in Gate City, just out of curiosity for Grace?
Okay, let me come over here to the Gate City. There's got the lightning strikes on there. It looks like the most intense part of the storm will probably start moving south of Gate City within the next few minutes, but still a heavy storm right over the Kingsport area as well. Yeah, it does seem like, Kingsport, Gate City, Colonial Heights, Churchill all have some very intense weather that stretches back into areas along the Hancock-Hawkins County border up into Lee County. Still some intense storms moving through that area. So and we did get an update on the warning kit that does now include a good part of Greene and Washington County as well. Let's move that over. So this is just a new warning until 9:15. A severe thunderstorm warning is in effect for areas of western Sullivan, Hawkins, Washington County, and East Tennessee, northeastern Hancock, good part of Greene County, as well as Unicoi County and southwestern Carter County. That severe thunderstorm warning in effect until 9:15. At about 8:10, a severe thunderstorm were located along a line extending from near Walnut Hill to 7 miles west, from near Walnut Hill to 7 miles west of Kingsport to 8 miles northwest of Burgoynesville, moving southeast at 30 miles per hour. So that's obviously the line of storms that's coming through the Kingsport, Cate City, Church Hill area currently, but they've extended the warning now further to the south. That warning in effect until, let me see here, until 9:15. So about an hour, but that storm has not even moved into the warned area that they've extended it into the rest of Hawkins and into Greene, Washington, Unicoi, and western Carter County. But moving to the southeast, let's see here, at about 30 miles per hour. So we'll do a track on that. And I'll adjust the speed on that now. And let me just do a real quick track on that, and may take just a minute. I need to confer with my producer here, and then I will put the track on there at moving southeast at about 30 miles per hour, coming through the Bristol area, and then extending back towards Sneedville. Okay, let me try that one more time.
And by the way, thank you again for all your comments on here. Matt Pearson there says heavy winds being reported in Hilton's, and getting some more photos in. Thank you, Lacreta, for that. If I can get it on, I certainly will, from Lebanon, Virginia. Bluntville getting breezy from Guy Davina King. We had a severe thunderstorm earlier in Pound, according to Barbara Mullins. So thank you all for watching there. And winds starting to pick up in Bluntville, according to Jessica.
Track there is that long track there is for that area of storms that they just kind of extended the warning south to include. All of Sullivan County basically was already under a severe thunderstorm warning, as was the Bristol Bristol area, but it does now include the rest of Hawkins County that that was not under the warning. A good part of Greene County. Looks like all of, or at least most of, Washington County, Tennessee, a good part of Unicoi County, and into southwest Carter County. That is because this line of storms pushing to the southeast at about 35 miles per hour and will impact areas currently, well, let's say Sneedville and Hancock County in the western side of that track is right now, basically, and then Boones Creek at 8:18 or so. That's right, of course, near the northern part of Washington County, Tennessee, near the Sullivan County line, and then also areas of Johnson City around 8:27, Jonesboro about 8:33, Hampton about 8:38, Unicoi about 8:48, Roan Mountain about 8:53, Irwin 8:56, Greenville about 9:05, and Newland into North Carolina, Avery County about 9:12.
And I do have that video. Finally was able to get it uploaded there. And we can, take a look at MX2. Oh, I'm hoping it'll play. Hold on. Okay. Give me a second. We'll see if we can get this to play for you folks.
It's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
I think it's, I see it's in edit mode right now.
It's there we go.
Okay. There we go. Wow, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I'm going to back off to the side where you guys can see it. But yeah, it is a really impressive Wow. Yeah, this was from Atkins, Virginia, by the way.
That was the leading edge of those storms that we were looking at that had not quite got to Atkins yet, but the leading edge. Sometimes you get those shelf clouds or maybe not, but that's definitely indicative of some turbulent skies and some strong winds that usually precede the arrival of a storm complex.
Absolutely.
Storms.
Yeah, and so, like, to your point, that was kind of ahead of it, but it was a great view of it because he was in the place where it was dry. You could really see it off in the distance, so look at that, just incredible. I mean, you know, like some of the pictures we had the last time where you could really see some of these kind of rotating, if you will. Man, sometimes off in the distance, you can have some great views of that. Anyway, thank you again, Brian, for sending that photo there from, well, that video from Atkins, Virginia. And then, yeah, still looking at the severe thunderstorm warnings, even at the moment with some 60-mile-per-hour wind potential in these yellow zones here.
We could, we could go quickly over. I'll show you where that video was taken by Brian in Smith County. We'll put Atkins on here, right there, just to the east of Marion along Interstate 81. So that storm right now is right over Atkins, right over Marion, right over Chilhowie, moving south along Interstate 81 and Lee Highway. We can put maybe see what the cameras look like. We'll go downtown Marion first here and see what that shot looks like. Definitely some heavy rain. This is from the bank of Marion along the interstate intersection of Main and Church Street. Some rain coming down and more of a view here from off in the distance. You can see what things look like at, well, maybe not getting that video from Emory-Henry School of Health Sciences, but there is definitely some heavy rain both of those locations currently. And that video again, that stream from Marion, Virginia, showing, you know, we've got some, I wouldn't say torrential rainfall, but certainly some rain falling. But there is definitely some intense rain moving across areas of Smith County currently with that storm, and especially between Chilhowie and Adwolf. Looks like right over that zone is where the heaviest rain is occurring, and then picks up again just a little bit east of Marion toward the Atkins, Virginia area, all spreading pretty quickly to the southeast and could have some wind gusts to 60 miles per hour.
Yeah, and where that yellow zone, yeah, just keep that in mind, kind of where Dave is highlighting. I just also noticed, got a viewer, Andrea Lawson, is sending some good photos here. A photo from her pool, just basically showing the winds like taking different items, literally blowing them right over the pool. Looks like chairs and stuff, just kind of showing the power of the wind. And let me see where that was located. I don't have the location, but thank you, Andrea, for your photo. Regardless, we'll try to get some of those on a little bit later. Anyway, so yeah, not to be distracted, but still looking at that severe thunderstorm warning. Obviously extending now to Johnson City, Jonesboro. That line's still kind of moving south pretty strong, wouldn't you say, Dave? Still
yeah, and so basically from Burgoynesville to Churchill to Fall Branch to Kingsport to Colonial Heights, to Piney Flats, Bluff City, Bluntville, Bristol, Tennessee, to Shady Valley, to just west of Damascus, then picking up again from near Abingdon to Glade Spring, and then up along Interstate 81 in Smith County. We're going to check maybe a couple of these camera spots around and see. I mean, it's getting kind of dark and hard to see some of these places, but I'm going to go to the Tri-Airport. That to the Northeast State. That usually a pretty good shot even at night, pointed toward the airport.
And yeah, as he's kind of pulling that up, then still, oh my goodness, wow. Look at the clouds with that.
That's looking turbulent, isn't it?
That certainly is.
So that's Northeast State. You can see the airport off in the distance there as well. We're really very close to the Northeast State, obviously. And then...
They may be able to fly right now, but I bet you here in a little bit they won't be able to.
Let's see how close. Let's take a look at BMS real quick, because it looks like there should be pretty intense rain over Bristol Motor Speedway too. Hard to see, but it's raining pretty hard. The wind kicking that, whipping that flag around a little bit. But certainly along Volunteer Parkway, we've got some heavy rain and some gusty winds. But let's see, that the intense part of this storm is moving through Hawkins County near 11W, not a pleasant drive right now at all, from just to the northeast of Rogersville, through Burgoynesville and Churchill, and then picking up again around Fall Branch in the northwest part of Washington County. Large part of Sullivan County getting hammered with some intense rain, maybe some strong gusty winds that might produce local damaging wind gusts as well at this point. From Kingsport to Colonial Heights, we were taking a look at the Tri-Airport. Wasn't looking to be too bad, and there is the Tri-Airport right there, TRI. So the heavier reflectivity is kind of straddling to the west and to the east. You can see around Colonial Heights, Smith Shoals subdivision, the Interstate 2681 interchange, and still, I mean, this area, you got to remember, also has had at least 2 rounds of intense rainfall today. One earlier this afternoon, and flash flood warning just was allowed to expire, I believe, for eastern Hawkins and into Sullivan, northern Washington County. And then here we got another round of intense rain coming through these areas. We showed you a little bit ago how much rain had estimated to fall locally in that zone here from, well, we could show it to you too, but eastern Hawkins through Sullivan County from earlier storms, anywhere from 1 to 3 inches of rain was estimated by Doppler radar a little bit more. We had that picture from, was it Colonial Heights?
See, that was the Colonial Heights area where we had that almost 3-inch amount of rainfall there. I'm sure he can pull it up. Just a couple more quick comments while he's working on that. Dylan, so yeah, storms were rotating earlier. Oh yeah, look at the, so that was from earlier today where they were able, just the storms earlier, they were able to measure almost 3 inches of rain there in Colonial Heights.
And so with this the third round coming through, just be mindful that this could aggravate the situation. Now that it's also gotten to be nightfall, it's more difficult to recognize the dangers of flash flooding. Utmost importance is never to cross a flooded roadway. I believe over half fatalities that occur during flood events are caused when people try to go through flood waters on a road, and sometimes you don't know the integrity of the road. You don't know, how swiftly the water is moving. It can be as little as a foot of water that can sweep or at least float a car. So, or and make it hard to get out of once you start floating down a stream or something. And so it's just important to be more mindful at night when it's hard to see those dangers that may be cropping up, and they may not be a widespread problem, but like we did have that flash flood warning in effect. Let's just see if we got a new flood. So here, all right, so as far as flash flood warnings are concerned, this is from earlier precip in the upper part of Harlan County until 10 p.m., but we do not have any flash flood warnings in effect for Northeast Tennessee, Southwest Virginia. Let's see if we got a flood advisory. Not yet, but with that rain coming through Sullivan County again, we do want to be just being a little bit more aware of your surroundings, low-lying poor drainage areas, typical flood-prone areas that could get some high water here over the next half hour because this line of storm ball, it is moving pretty quickly. It's just going to kind of aggravate some already saturated ground, saturated soils, and could be resulting in some additional minor flooding, and that is continuing to push to the south. So it's almost through Kingsport and Bristol, actually the intense part, now pushing through like Colonial Heights and through Fall Branch, Burgoynesville, Sneedville. Still some active weather in Russell and Lee County. Not as intense as it once was, but especially the western part of Lee County, west of Jonesville toward Rose Hill, still some heavy downpours. Looks like the intensity is not as high as it once was in Lee County, but still some heavy rain. But certainly the Tri-City is getting the line of strongest and most severe storm activity currently, and that would include, as I was going through a little bit ago, and I got kind of sidetracked as I went west with the panning of the radar on the camera. But from Rogersville to Burgoynesville, 11W, some pretty intense rains, obviously, some intense lightning, and could have some wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour locally within this band. Maybe not everywhere, of course, but could have some wind gusts along this line of storms up to 60 miles per hour. That does extend into areas of northern Greene County now, from near Geraldstown to Fall Branch, and still impacting areas around Colonial Heights, moving into Gray and Boones Creek, along the Sullivan-Washington County line, Piney Flats, and also toward the Bluff City area. Kind of looks like it's beginning to exit Bristol, Tennessee. Already exited Bristol, Virginia, the heavy part of the storm, but now moving toward the southeastern parts of Sullivan County as well. Just now kind of skirting the South Holston Dam area, and then extending into the eastern tip of Sullivan County near the Johnson County line, just to the west of Laurel Bloomery towards Shady Valley, and then picks up again where we still have the severe thunderstorm warning, but looks like the heavier activity has pushed east and south of Abingdon, but still pretty intense cell to the southwest of Damascus and also to the northeast, north of Conorak, and then into Smith County. Large part of that now beginning to about push south of Interstate 81 in Smith County, but still from Chilhowie to Adwolf and 7 Mile Ford to Marion, toward Atkins and Mountain Empire Airport, getting on the north side of this intense storm in Smith County. That also means it's moving into places like Sugar Grove and then into Troutdale, getting into northern Grayson County as well.
All right, just wanted to kind of mention a couple comments here, and then we'll get to one more photo that I was able to get up. A little bit pixelated there when I blew it up.
Oh, wow.
Fairly big, but you can look at all the kind of the damage. So on Max 2, Andrea Lawson has sent this photo from Coburn, Virginia, and you can really see how the wind, I took like several objects, just blew them off the, well, around the pool, off the pool, on the pool, everywhere.
That looks, I don't know what it was, but whatever it was maybe it's a, I'm going to wager a guess. I was going to say basketball hoop or something like that. You know, something to.
Yeah, I'm not totally.
It has a pool right now. Yeah, I mean, sometimes we see trampolines get wrapped up during these events. That's not a trampoline, but there certainly is some structural damage to whatever there was near the pool or around the pool area.
Yeah, that's some strong winds. And then, by the way, she says her electricity is out. So. Yeah, quite the thing there. And let me just mention a couple comments, then we'll let Dave get back to it here. So thankfully, Dylan, no, we're not looking at rotation right now. We did have some earlier, but thankfully not looking at that. The clouds moved in, Chuck says, so fast here that the street lights came on. I believe that. Tommy Testerman, thank you so much. Yeah, absolutely. Heather Press, raining and windy in Meadowview with some deep thunder. Amanda, thank you, getting lightning and rain. Lawson, raining here in Edson, I want to say that right. Patsy says water standing in Norton, Virginia roads. So obviously that goes back to your point.
Where was that at?
I don't know which road. Patsy, which road is that?
But what's the community? I didn't catch that.
Oh, Norton, Virginia.
Oh, okay, in the Wise County area.
Yeah. It just started up there a little bit ago in Hyder's Gap. It's probably starting to move through there now. Heavy rain just moved on, according to Jessica Hauser. One more here. I've watched it seems to always go around Abingdon. Well, you kind of lucked out then.
And so I'm looking at the power outage map, and I'm looking at Sullivan County, customers out 996. I think with the afternoon storms, that got over 2,000 at one point, did it not?
It sure did. Sullivan County was kind of the big winner with over 2,000.
So currently Sullivan County is 996, Hawkins County is 562 customers out. I'm not able to show this right now graphically, but I'm looking at the map. Those are the two largest in Tennessee. Let's see about Southwest Virginia. So we do have quite a few also in Dickinson County, Virginia, with 708 customers without power currently. And in Wise County, looks like the most power outages thus far that is being currently posted on the power outage map is Wise County, with over 1,000 people, customers, without power in Wise County. I'm going to look at Washington County, Virginia, real quick. And it looks like we were showing how that storm had weakened some as it came through Washington County, Virginia. And right now, only 8 customers. I might be a bit low, but only 8 customers, excuse me, are reported without power in Washington County, Virginia, 96 in Scott County, Virginia. So it looks like Wise and Dickinson perhaps maybe the hardest hit areas of Southwest Virginia, and then it looks like maybe Sullivan and Hawkins County are the highest total in Northeast Tennessee without power. So that is the nature of what these storms can do. I mean, I'm thankful that it's not any worse than that. In fact, we did have more power outages with the afternoon storms as they came through Sullivan County, but we're still at a good number, at a little over 1,000 people about 1,000, about like 900 some people without power in Sullivan County. But anyway, so we still have a continuous line of severe thunderstorm warnings that include just about all of East Tennessee that's in the viewing area. And some of the storms have not yet moved into areas that are under warnings, like a good part of Greene County. It's in northern Greene County. But we're all under a severe thunderstorm warning in East Tennessee, about ready to expire for Washington County, Virginia, and soon to move into Grayson County from Smith County. Once these storms move out of Washington and Smith, our viewing area in Virginia would be cleared from, it looks like, any additional severe weather for the rest of the evening. One thing I'm noticing, Kit, is there are no considerable damage warnings in effect anymore. So it looks like the max wind gust locally within that line is expected to be no more than 60 miles per hour, which still can do tree and power line damage, of course. But there's that block of counties from Hawkins and Greene and Washington and Sullivan County, Unicoi County. That's the most recent warning in effect until 9/15. And then we got the new ones for parts of Carter and the southern part of Johnson County until 9:30. That's a new warning. Those storms yet to move into, or just beginning to move into those parts of Carter and Johnson County. But still for until 8:45 for the eastern part of Sullivan County and in Washington County, Virginia, and so forth. And see, Hawkins County and Greene County well, mainly now for Hawkins, Sullivan, Greene, Washington County, as those storms continue to now move through into getting closer to the Johnson City, Jonesboro area of Washington County, Tennessee. That's the next major part of our metro that's going to be impacted with these storms here shortly.
Yeah, and it looks like lasting until 9:15, it looks like we have on those counties. So obviously some of these are, fairly recent from Washington County, especially points east. Now looking at Carter County and some of those communities as well under that thunderstorm warning. And yeah, still anywhere in the zone, it could be still like some gusts up to about 60. Not everybody, but certainly within the zone. I'll be kind of keeping an eye on that storm system as it's progressing south and east. And I mean, boy, it's made a lot of headway. By the way, we'll have some updated power numbers for you. I do have a fresh graphic for that here in just a little bit, but kind of just zooming into some of this activity. It's knocking on the door now of Johnson City. I'm sure you're starting to see a little bit of a gust front kind of ahead of that, and we can put it into motion, taking a look at where we're expecting it here over the next 30 minutes to an hour or thereabouts. But heavy rain, wind, yeah, impacting communities around, let's see, what do we have on Jonesboro there? Anyway, so still moving off to the south and east. We'll put another time tracker on that, give you some fresh information. So for obviously Jonesboro, Irwin, Hampton, Roan Mountain.
Approximate times here, of course.
Absolutely, approximate times for sure. Around 8:39 in Jonesboro, that's not too far away, right? Roan Mountain, 8:49. Unicoi, town of Unicoi there, 8:52, excuse me. 8:58 there for Irwin. The Nolichucky River, as if it needs any more rain, but sure, why not? 9:02 there for the Nolichucky. Newland, 9:08 in Bakersville, eventually North Carolina there around 9:13, and so on.
We'll do one also for the I am just making a mess of myself on this graphic here, trying to move my camera and plot the tracker all at the same time. The computer doesn't want to have anything to do with it. And so we'll just go kind of on the western part of this.
Yeah, look at that, kind of some of that outflow there happening ahead of, that gust front there ahead of the main line of showers of storms. That's pretty impressive, showing up on reflectivity. So a couple more communities here. Limestone around 8:44, Greenville 8:53, Camp Creek, Tennessee, 9 o'clock, notorious for getting storms. You guys know how it is. 9:03 for Warrensburg, Viking Mountain around 9:06, St. James 9:13, and moving on out of the viewing area kind of later on, but 9:19 Parrotsville, and then Newport around 9:27.
So we've had, it's been sometimes we get severe weather for a county or two, but this has pretty much hit every county with at least a severe thunderstorm warning. Some have been under more than one today. We had that round come through this afternoon, which brought severe thunderstorm warnings to a number of locations. But this line here that not more than what was about 4:30 or so was near Cincinnati, or just between Cincinnati and Lexington, thereabouts. 6:30, 7:30, 5:30, 6:30, 7:30. In 4 hours, it's gone from, you know, northern Kentucky and almost through our entire area with almost I think every county was under a severe thunderstorm warning with it coming through.
I believe so. Kind of going back through my brain with it, but I believe you are correct. And like you mentioned, some places ended up with 2, even 3. I mean, you know, like Smith County's got hit, multiple times today. And yeah, and still now pretty much everybody moving on to the south there, south of Johnson City eventually. Greenville eventually going to get this too, because they're under the severe thunderstorm warning. So pretty much area wide. Real quick before I let Dave go ahead and give us some more information, actually I'll let him kind of talk a little bit about this.
So this is the recent rain. I mean, this has been consistent with the passage of this line. These are rainfall rates. If it rained, you know, for an hour, this is how much would fall. Not nearly the amount of pink and purple that we had maybe an hour ago, but still there are some pockets of some very torrential rainfall that you can see. Let me zoom in a little bit here. Zoom into where the heavier rain is currently. The purple area, the red areas, that's where the rain rate is the highest, and you can see about 3+ inch rain per hour rate near Elizabethton to Butler, just to the west, northwest of Elizabethton, and also to the north, or getting close to Jonesboro. That's a heavy part of the cell. Also in northern Greene County, and then pretty heavy rain rate also around Rogersville, with about a 3.5 inch hour rain rate. Of course, it would have to rain an hour at that intensity to get that much, but you know, if you go half hour, half that, you could, you know, pick up maybe locally. Not everybody along that line is seeing those rain rates, but you know, locally there could be an inch or two of rain that falls, ½ inch to 1.5 inches in a short period of time.
Yeah, and that's a pretty good little zone, a pretty good little swath of heavier rain. I mean, really, even in some of these lighter locations, still looking at, you know, some pretty heavy rain with that. So combination of that with the winds kind of creating the main problems. I wonder too if we could switch just briefly over to Max 2, if we can. Yep, perfection. So this is just the most updated power numbers. This is something David just mentioned a minute ago. Still close to 1,000 customers right now without power in Sullivan County. A little over that in Wise County. 708 there, 708 customers out in Dixon County and Hawkins County. Kind of the other big winner right now in Northeast Tennessee at 562.
I'm somewhat actually thankful that, I mean, I'm unhappy for those who have power out. That's just not fun. You know, you want, especially, you know, if you've got medical issues and you need the power on to run that. But, you know, for air conditioning, it's an obvious nuisance, if not worse, if you don't have power. But I'm kind of thankful that it's not more than that with the scope and just that, the fact that we had every county from Kentucky through Virginia and now through East Tennessee that has been under a severe thunderstorm warning.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Thankfully, we haven't seen it worse than that. I know sometimes before, when we've had a considerable wind threat with some thunderstorm warnings, that we've had numerous power outages, sometimes in the thousands, unfortunately. Thankfully, it's not worse. I mean, but I do feel, you know, obviously, like you mentioned, I feel for the folks that, you know, don't have power right now.
Absolutely. So right now we can do a quick overview of the expiration timing of these warnings that are currently in effect. Let's start with where the storms are and where the warnings are currently in effect here, from areas of Hawkins County around Rogersville into Greene County, Sullivan County, Washington County, Unicoi County, Southwest Carter County. That warning is in effect until 9:15. So for better than a half hour. But once the line passes south, you're obviously cleared from the warning, so it's about ready to move through Rogersville and Bayleton, northern Greene County. The warning will last for you, you know, to 9:15, but it's moving toward Greenville and Mossheim and South Greene and Tusculum and areas into Washington County as well. But we do have, we could probably take a look right now at other warnings here that are in effect. This one here until 8:45. So this one's about ready to expire for Sullivan County, Washington County, along the Tennessee-Virginia state line, northern Johnson County, but still for Carter County and into the southern half of Johnson County, that warning is in effect until 9:30. And then we have a new one here that was issued recently for areas of western Hawkins and then into Hamlin County. That warning until 9:30. And it looks like also trying to, here we'll go through, I guess the Smith County one and the Grayson County one until 9 o'clock. So it looks like we are seeing the Smith County storms really kind of weakened a lot, which is good news as it heads into Grayson County. But we still got these intense little cells within the line itself moving through Johnson, Carter County now from near Butler to Hampton, soon to move over the Watauga Lake area, and then toward Elizabethton and Hunter. Heaviest downpours now kind of straddling Johnson City right now, it looks like, into the Carter County section, and then just west toward Jonesboro and Telford. Very intense rain there, Kit. Sulphur Springs, and then into northern Greene County around Newmansville. Getting close to Chuckey Elementary School, Limestone, Newmansville, but yet to get into the Greenville, Tusculum area, Mossheim, Mohawk, Bulls Gap. But definitely some big downpours now in Rogersville, Cherokee High School area of Hawkins County, and getting close to Mooresburg, there along Cherokee Lake as well. So this making steady progress southward and has potential for some 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts.
Yeah, I was just thinking, if you're having to drive on the interstate right now tonight, like I-26 here around Gray and towards Boones Creek, or if you're on Interstate 81 for that matter, just south and west of Jonesboro, it's, not a fun night. You don't even really, I wouldn't want to be on the interstate with that kind of rain.
I was going to take a look at Jonesboro. Looks like the rain just maybe starting, perhaps.
Looks like
we've got some gusty winds. This is a live look from downtown Jonesboro, East Main Street. Not necessarily raining real heavily there yet. Let's just see.
Yeah, I wonder what some of our interstate cams kind of look like for some of those locations. I bet it is heavier because, like you just mentioned with Jonesboro, the town itself doesn't look like it was in the worst of it, but just off there, the interstate would be seeing.
All right, so this.
It's Fort Town Road there.
Mile marker 55, that's T-Dot. Mile marker, okay, this is along, I think we're going to show that.
The downside is it's getting dark too now. It has to make visibility kind of impossible in some of those spots at times, I would have to think.
And then here's the Interstate 81, Interstate 26 interchange. A lot of this activity is kind of pushing south of the T-Dot cameras that we have loaded here. Let's see, we got one more maybe. There's 4 Henry Drive. Yeah, those are kind of pushing south of the main band. But we definitely still have the heavy downpours pushing through the Jonesboro area. I'm trying to think if we got any cameras that are in that zone of northern Greene. We looked at the Jonesboro camera. We could look at the Holiday Inn camera in Johnson City. It looks like, though, the heavier rain's kind of just skirted to the west and east of JC. But definitely some heavy rain coming down there on Interstate 26, Roan Street, exit 20. Some heavy rain continuing to fall. But overall, we're just going to continue to see this line of storms move south through areas of Hawkins and now basically pushing into the northern central part of Greene County. So heads up around Greenville and Tusculum, getting toward Limestone now along 11E. Jonesboro, definitely in the thick of it right now. And then Johnson City and points east into Carter County around Elizabethton, Hampton, also up around Butler, getting close to Elk Mills as well. Anything you want me to put up here for you, Kip?
Let's see. Can't think of anything at the moment, but one thing about it, I will say, folks, The storms, when they get going this long and then we have another long, it makes for, I will say, it makes for a long day. You know how that is. It's incredible that we've watched this storm system, which wasn't not too long ago. It was back in Kentucky towards Ohio. And then now look how it's made so much progress. This thing was really speeding up as it made its progress down to the south and the east. So we've looked at rainfall rates. I am curious maybe some of the latest lightning. I know we just had one random strike there. Well, a random bit of thunder in Bristol here not just too long ago. And you kind of looked at the heaviest of the storms. It was actually to the south, but we still had a random lightning strike and some thunder here locally. And here's some of those strikes kind of showing up. I know earlier they didn't really want to populate too much, but there's kind of a look at some of those.
It's really not as intense as it once was. It looks like we're getting all the lightning strikes now. Maybe we're seeing some of that beginning to diminish a little bit as well, the frequency of the lightning.
Yeah, and generally on reflectivity, I am noticing, I mean, it's a slow, steady progress here, but a little bit of weakening generally with the whole system. I know we still have the warnings in effect for rains and winds, kind of, mainly the winds being our main impacts that we have to keep an eye on. Kind of looking at the eastern part of the area there, Damascus, notice how it's mainly just light to moderate rain. So
Still looks like a few lightning strikes here embedded in this overall rainy pattern. But I would think we're safe to say that the severe threat, I mean, in this area is diminished. Still some occasional, maybe a rumble of thunder or two embedded within that area there of Washington, Russell, Smith County. But that line has fallen apart pretty quickly. I don't see any damaging wind gusts there. And really, I think our main danger of locally damaging wind gust would be confined to areas, the leading edge of this line of storms pushing through the southern part of Johnson County, along Highway 67 to near Neva, and then to near Butler.
If we have any storm reports, anything recent?
I could look to see here what we got. See, we'll just put storm reports. We can go back even from earlier this afternoon and see what we got. Let me just do that.
Yeah, just kind of curious what we have here, because I know we've got some pictures. Okay, well, some of these are fairly recent, so I'll be curious about a couple of those.
All right, let me...
I would have to estimate or guesstimate here, probably some wind reports, maybe some fallen trees, I would have to think.
Yeah, let me just... This is 12 hours. Let's go 6 hours of data. And there we go. And stop it there. So here is within the past 6 hours, and we'll just I'll just go and click on some of these and see what we got. And most of these are this evening too, so, you know.
Yeah, and a couple of those that just like that when we were running through the loop, those are.
So there was a flash flood report. This was earlier from the afternoon storms near Church Hill. Not major flooding, it just like some 911 call confirming that a culvert along Silver Lake Road overflowing with estimated 4 inches of water. So that's manageable for most people, unless it's your property, of course. And then we had around 3. This is from this afternoon too. Large tree uprooted, snapped, very small trees damaged on farm property. Okay, here's one from this evening. This is from Fall Branch. Maybe if I just tone it down to maybe 2 hours. That's from 8:39, so that's recent. From the Fall Branch area of Washington County, Tennessee. Several trees down there. This is from 8:34 around Hunter in Carter County. We got reports of some trees down. Also Carter County. This was from 4:24. That was this afternoon. Some trees down, no significant damage. Let's go to Rogersville. This 8:33 in the Rogersville area. Looks like we got some wind damage of several trees. I think that's largely what we're looking at here. About trees down across the county, highlighting the Jonesville area. That's according to the Lee County Dispatch around 7:54. So we're getting, I just want to make sure we're not going to miss anything major here. Around a late 8:11, several trees down, Highlander Park in Washington County, Virginia. And then, when is that? Tree reporter down, all right, Porterfield. highway. It looks like we got a hail report from
Was that Wise?
Wise County. Let's see what that says.
Ooh, public report of 81-mile-per-hour wind gust. Well,
All right, so that
wow.
is okay. That's a wind damage report, thunderstorm wind gust, and this is a measured wind gust. This was at 7:22. That's when these storms just started to come across the Kentucky-Virginia border, and that's when we had a much more, I think, intense line coming from Kentucky into Virginia. So we have now confirmed wind measured report at home weather station mounted on a roof, noting that multiple trees snapped and broad rotation with storm as it passed overhead. That in Wise, 81-mile-per-hour wind gust there. Did we do that one already? I mean, that's significant, kid, isn't it?
That is definitely significant. Even with a home station, though, that's interesting to me. I wonder if the Weather Service, I'll have to look into the chat, see if they decide they need to follow up on any of these, but that would be one I would be considering for sure.
Down trees in the Castlewood area around 7:36. And then we already did the Washington County, Virginia here. Richlands about 8:08. Rosedale, that would be northern part of Russell County. Some trees down, Tazewell County, near Asbury's. Tree down, blocking both lanes of BF Buchanan Highway. And I think we hit pretty much all of them, didn't we?
Yeah, I believe that's pretty much it. We'll take a look here to see what else.
So, I mean, the most significant, I mean, we've had numerous reports this evening of some scattered tree damage, which is likely with the wind gusts that were likely coming through with the line of storms. But the most significant storm report of the evening is from the Wise area that had that measured wind gust from a home weather station, and that right up here. And that says public report of an 81-mile-per-hour gust, weather station, home weather station mounted on a roof of a home, and numerous trees snapped with broad rotation with storms as it passed overhead. So that's pretty significant. And at that point, the storms were carrying that considerable wind damage tag of possible 70+ mile-an-hour winds, which did carry over into the Tri-Cities, that tag on the warning text. But it looks, I would say, that most of the wind gusts were probably less than that as they've come through the Tri-Cities, fortunately. But still, though, we've had a number of reports of some wind damage locally as this line of storms continues to pass south through Hawkins County, now mainly to the south of Rogersville, the heavier downpours and the stronger winds, and then into central northern Greene County, and also into Washington County, Tennessee, near and south of Johnson City, the heaviest part. Also, I'd say probably around Lamar and Limestone Point south, we can be expecting the heavier storms also beginning to push into Unicoi County. So heads up along Interstate 26 between Irwin and Unicoi, and then the storms pick up again in intensity near Roan Mountain along Highway 19E between Hampton and Roan Mountain, then up toward Elks Mills, and then into Johnson County, mainly south of Nava.
So I would say, wouldn't you say once this main line here pushes through, I would say there's still some indication of maybe some heavy rain tomorrow morning, but it looks like the storminess would be kind of winding down.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking we probably will be able to kind of break off our live stream here here in a minute or so, but I do want to point out that the atmosphere that hasn't been kind of turned over by recent convection this afternoon and this evening, we're beginning to see maybe the focal point where we haven't had the storms yet is where we're seeing the storms beginning to flare up more into areas in Kentucky, and that stretches from around Middlesboro and then toward Pine Knot. Right now, there are warnings for that activity near the Tennessee border, but I wouldn't be surprised. This kind of may take over as it moves southward. This right here that this becomes maybe the more active part of the line here as we go through the next few hours.
Yeah, and I would second that too. And just thinking about, see, I know earlier we had a lot of those storms that kind of helped at least bring the instability down somewhat. But you know, some of those areas to the west, I'm sure there's still the environment is very favorable for some severe weather going through the next several hours.
And the
Cumberland Plateau that way.
The forecast model was also indicating that perhaps late tonight, toward morning again, we might see something try to come in from up in this general area that, well, we're starting to see. This is getting a little bit far away from the radar. Might be able to go to a, let me look for something that gives me a better perspective of that activity that maybe we'll keep an eye on for. So we got the severe thunderstorm watch that they eventually did come out with, but we'll kind of keep an eye on upstream here. This activity is kind of blossoming a little bit in Indiana, then into Kentucky. But I think, you know, our atmosphere's gotten a pretty good workover with the rounds of rain and storms this afternoon, this evening. But we'll keep an eye on things and just be mindful that things are going to continue to move south through the southern parts of the metro here over the next hour or so. But it looks like maybe some general weakening. But as the storms continue to push through the remainder of Hawkins County, now entering Greene County, also into areas of southern Washington, into Unicoi County near Irwin, and then into the southeast parts of Carter County near Roan Mountain, into southern Johnson County. Those areas, I'd say, for the next hour or so, will continue to have the line of storm settle southward. Still could be some localized wind gusts that could do some damage. The trend, though, I think is going to be for these storms then eventually to start moving out of the viewing area over the next hour or so. And we'll just have to kind of keep an eye on, Kit, what happens maybe tomorrow, late tonight, maybe something. I don't know. We're going to have to kind of see how the radar trends are as we go through the overnight. But I think once this line comes through, we're in pretty good shape for the rest of the evening and probably for the overnight as well.
Yeah, and then we'll just have to keep an eye on some heavy downpours again, and you might hear some more rain, thunder, well, tomorrow morning with some more shower and thunder shower activity, as if we need more, but you know how it is.
But anyway, we appreciate you sticking around with us, and hope you all have a safe and quiet, at least eventually a quiet rest of the evening. Of course, until those storms pass in Greene, Hawkins, and southern Washington, Unicoi, Carter, and Johnson County, be weather aware that these are going to continue to move south through your area, and will probably exit shortly within the next hour or two max. So have a good evening, and we'll catch you on Fox Tri-Cities tonight at 10 and on News 5 WCYB at 11. Have a good night.